WesWes, y'all.
They help families or people that are in a renting situation and they've got trouble with the landlords.
Oh,
They
yeah,
have to
yeah.
go for the tribunal, but they have to do a report on.
Like advocating for those guys and trying to help
Yeah,
them. Yeah, it can be
yeah.
tricky. Yeah, that's awesome.
And they do that, and plus the other thing was they try to help people get out of debt,
Oh, wow.
like homeowners and business owners, small business. Yeah,
That's awesome, man.
but there's heaps of like those kind of, because I never know, like there's heaps of these kind of organizations to help, but
Yeah,
no one really knows until you get
Totally.
introduced to it. Eh?
that's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Bro, and so many of our kids end up, like they start their adult life in debt.
yeah,
Bro, it's crazy.
yeah,
They like, the banks, like, they know too. And they go, like 17-year-old come, open up a bank account. Like, get a credit card.
straight away.
They haven't learned how to deal with money yet. They're just like $1,000 limit. Oh,
Yeah.
so I've got $1,000. That's it. Right from the start. Boom. And then that just,
yeah, because it's all about sales to the bankers. Like, yeah. Yeah.
put these on?
Yep. Check. Is it on?
Yep.
Is yours on?
Whoa.
All right. Matthew, brother, welcome back to the 135.
Yeah, thank you, bro.
It's been a while, eh? I think last time we
It
came
has.
was like a couple days ago.
I remember when it was, because I had like a real crazy thing happen to me the day that I came to see you. So I was like, that's etched. It was like 2020.
Did you speak about it? I don't think you did, eh?
Nah, it was like it had just happened. It was super raw.
So what was it? Anything bad?
Yeah.
Oh,
So what happened? So I've been a youth worker for 20 years, and I've kind of always had this thing where like compassion wins no matter what. Like I've had some like hard kids, man, that have just been like, just lived a life, but like compassion has just always been able to break through that. This one kid, and won't name names or anything like that, but he was part of we had just started West City Boxing at that stage, and we were maybe 6 months in or something, a year in, but and I picked him up through a mentoring thing that I was doing through Vision West, and I don't really even know what happened, but he just got up and walked outside, and I went out after him, and I was like, "Oh, bro, are you okay?" And he just turned around and went, bah! Like, hit me.
oh, real?
Yeah, man. And I was like, oh, and that's fine. But then after that, I was, because my mantra is like compassion wins. So then I was just like, are you okay, man? Like, so I just like followed him down the road, just being like, I believe in you, man. Like, I was just still trying to just speak like real positivity into him and tell him that it's okay. Tell him that, because he's come from some trauma, man, And he turned around again. Bah! And that time I knew he was going to hit me. For some reason, I just let him hit me because I was like, he's going to get it out. I don't know. He hit me again. And then just walked off, and I just kept following him, just being like, just speaking positivity to him. But it was the first time where I was like, compassion didn't win.
Right. Yeah.
And it just shook me, bro. Like, oh, yeah. And it was that night. And then I came to see you.
Oh, okay. So did you ever talk to him again, or have you seen him again? Or?
Nah, he went inside just after that. He just, he did some stuff. He'd done some stuff. It was actually before that. And then he got caught. And then I saw him. And then he went. I just never got a chance. And he wasn't, so. But I did say to his family, like, hey, if he ever wants to come back, like, slate clean, he's welcome. But just didn't work out. But yeah, man, I'm still thinking about that kid. Still pray for that kid. Like he's yeah.
Because that was a couple of years ago when you came on.
Yeah.
Man, that technique of compassion, like getting into the kids that way, like, obviously it's worked for you. Like it was.
Well, that's the thing.
Until that point,
up until that point, yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, I've crazy stories that like where it has been amazing. I had one kid who's like in the middle of a domestic thing that, I knew really well. And he grabbed a knife and like went out onto the street and was just like, he just like wanted to hurt himself or anyone else that was around him. Like he was just in that mindset. And I just walked behind him and I was doing the same thing, just calling him to who he is, and even though he couldn't see who he was. But the good thing was about him is like he looked at me, he just, nothing could calm him down. And he looked at me and I just said, bro, I love you, bro. I've got you no matter what. And just tears came down. He dropped the knife, and so I've kind of had amazing experiences like that where...
That's even more dangerous. He's got a knife.
Yeah. But I don't know. But you have experiences like that and you just like 100% believe like, man, compassion wins. You just see these amazing experiences. So for the one time that it doesn't after 20 years of doing it, it rocked me, man.
At the same time, it's only once in 20 years.
Totally. Yeah. Now that it's like 3 years, almost 4 years on, I'm kind of like, I've processed it and stuff and kind of gone, he was just in a moment of trauma, kind of reliving some trauma. And because I think about that kid and what had happened was he's actually a very good boxer. Before he even came to me, we were sparring, not hard sparring, but he was sparring another boy. But I think the boy that he was sparring was good, and so was he. But I think he felt like he didn't get the better of the other boy, and then we sat down to do abs. It was finishing, and I saw a tear come down. And I think the world that he lives in, man, there's no room for tears, and so he just turned that into anger and rage and like just and so yeah
it's the evidence is out there like with trauma and that with these kids when they're young and then they go into the world and they struggle with mental health and all that kind of stuff we know through evidence and what we see and what we hear like it's that being neglected when you're young.
Yeah.
And it can be a lot of situations. It can be the situation can be different for everybody. Like, parents are not there.
Yeah.
Or the parents are not as good.
Yeah.
Or, stuff.
Yeah.
Heaps of things. And it's all about having a cycle. It's a cycle way.
Totally. 100%.
It's a cycle. So if the parents, maybe the dad's abusive, even the mom's abusive or alcoholic, but that comes from when they were kids.
Yeah.
And it's their parents. And back
and it just keeps going. Yeah.
And that if they don't take care of it, then they're going to do it to their own kids.
Yeah.
And then that generation, the next generation, the same cycle goes over again.
Yeah. That's why I think it's such a special thing when a cycle breaks, because you know that it's not just there. Like if a young person changes their life, you realize that like, oh, that's not a life that's changed. That's like generations that have got there of brokenness, and then there's generations after that are healed and a lot more whole in their lives. So it's incredible, like if you think of, you think, oh yeah, that young person, that's an awesome story. They turn their lives around. They're not doing that anymore. But even better than that, it's like their kids. Like I talk about my boy Levi, who I've said, many times he's living rough and came to live with us and he's turned his life around. And I look at his kids now, and his kids were actually, his son was just with me at Isaac Peaches, hanging out, beautiful kids, and that cycle's broken. Amazing. And then they're going to have kids and,
Yeah. And that breaking the cycle, like, so social workers have identified this, and how does it, if that's the answer to break the cycle, like, isn't all the resources should be going into breaking cycles? Or because when I think about like social welfare, because I've heard other people talk about social welfare, the people that don't agree with it and say it's wrong, it's bad. It cultivates the cycle.
Yeah,
sort of thing, because there's no incentive.
It definitely does. I agree with that. Like I definitely. Yeah, it's one. We're already kind of talking about politics, aren't we? But it everything's political, and I think like I sit in a really weird place where. I consider myself left wing, but I feel homeless in the left nowadays, and I think it's one of those things that I'm like, it's not that I disagree with helping our most vulnerable people. It's that the way we're doing it is not helping. it's not working. It's just like it doesn't restore mana, or like a self of a sense of self, or any kind of self-respect or anything like that. Like it doesn't restore any of that. It just perpetuates kind of like the opposite of that, so.
But it's good that you know this, and this is your opinion on it. It's good because if there is a way to fix things, then why don't people listen? Like why? Like if you're if your job is to be a social worker and help, and then from helping you identify what's wrong, and then from that you know what's wrong, you know how to fix it. Shouldn't that filter up to the higher ups and then come back down? Okay, we'll put all the resources towards that, and it seems easy. Like it seems like a simple, like let's get all these guys out in the field.
Yeah.
Come back. So what's the story? What's happening? Okay, how do we fix it? Okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
Like to me, it sounds simple, but it's not, eh?
Well, it is. It is simple. I mean, Nigel Latta. Do you know Nigel Latta? He did like documentaries on.
He's the economics guy.
Oh no, that's a different guy. But he's a psychologist.
Oh yeah.
Actually, a lot of people in my field don't like him, but he did have a really good saying that we can make the mistake in thinking that complex issues require complex solutions. When actually, the solutions are quite simple, but they're hard and they take a while. And I think that's probably the thing, is that politicians' main goal is to get re-elected. So you have 3 years to make a difference. And if you imagine the amount of trauma, if you imagine, I was actually talking to a friend of mine who's homeless the other week. I hadn't seen him in ages, and then he came back to Henderson. He's living rough there. We're having a conversation, and it wasn't anything deep, but it reminded me of a past conversation that I'd had with this guy. Man, he's like, talk about trauma, you know what I mean? And it's kind of like that. I think about his life and like the trauma that he's lived, and like the solutions are kind of like, a 10-week program of this, or an 8-week program of that, or a brief intervention here, and it's all so that people can be seen to be making results within a 3-year period, that they can then tell the people, hey, we made this results, but none of them are long lasting or even real, like youth employment for us in the youth sector was big for a while, still kind of is, but it was really big for a while. And so when a topic's big, that's where the money goes. So there was lots of contracts with youth employment and stuff like that. So you imagine, and you think, yeah, that's good, man. People get employed, they start feeling better about themselves, But you think about, people that aren't employed. There's people that aren't employed for various reasons, but for those that are like chronically unemployed, there's a lot that's gone on in their life, and so what people were doing was, and what the expectation was that. Especially for young people, we were pushing young people into employment before they were ready. They had no sense of belief in themselves. They had no desire to work, and they didn't. They had no. They just weren't ready. But there was this push into employment. So then the young person would go into employment. They'd have a bad experience because they didn't want to be there, so then they'd leave. But then the employer would have a really bad experience as well, and be like, I don't want to hire young people and that you guys give me anymore, because it's gone after day 2. But the statistic was that young person was unemployed, and then they got employed. So then the government was like, hey.
So that's a tick the box thing. It's all about the numbers.
Yeah.
And that's politics, eh?
Yeah.
And this is why people don't trust politicians, because
yeah,
when they say they don't get things done, it's all about the numbers for them.
Yeah,
and in such a short period of time,
But you know what, Barry? To kind of challenge it a little bit, I would say it's not the politicians, that's us. Because what's our expectation of a politician? You see it all the time. Oh, flipping politicians, what's our expectation of them? Are we willing to kind of say to a politician, I don't expect any results for 10 years. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, ooh, that's...
And we don't vote.
Yeah. So, yeah.
That's an interesting question. What do we expect from a politician? if we know well enough that nothing gets done,
Yeah.
or things take long to get done.
Yeah. It's funny because I've completely changed my opinion on politicians. I mean, I still have a bit of a dark side there because I've met plenty of politicians that are just that little bit slimy, like.
Yeah.
Actually, I have one. I was in when I was working at Zeal. We were in Kapiti Coast, and we were doing this thing for a high school. We had this big blow up soccer field. It was awesome, bro. It was like doing this thing and this politician basically just like came in his car, and he came in hot, bro. I was like, what is this? Whoa! Got out of his car, like charged in. It's like, hey, I'm da da da.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, hey. Shook hands, got a photo. Boom, gone. I was like, what? he got the photo up and was gone, man. I was just like, oh, bro. But then I've met other politicians that have like, when the cameras are gone. Jacinda was actually really known for that. She was like, when the cameras are gone, she's still there, like serving food and doing, doing her thing.
Yeah.
Well, whatever you think about her, it's just, that's just a part of her that was true. But I do think like when I was elected to the local board, even just on that small level, there was this real kind of thing of like the perception of politicians, but then the expectation, like so on a local level, everyone hates paying rates, but everyone hates being stuck in traffic. Like you got to choose. Like it's one or another, and then so everyone campaigns on like, well, I'll get rid of the fat, and then they get in like what's his name is Wayne Brown is now, and he's like, oh, shit, there's not a lot of fat. It's actually just we're just not paying enough rates compared to other places in the country, and in the world. So it's like, well, we can only do what we can, like cost this much, and we can't afford it.
Well, it seems like all that money is going towards stuff that people don't want.
Yeah,
a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like I think in town, the biggest grab is the cycleways.
Yeah,
downtown.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. There's definitely like this big. It's an unrealistic push from AT where. It's just it's almost like there's a lack of proximity now to people on the ground. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I'll ride my bike, and I'll take my 3 kids and drop them at 3 different schools, and then go do the shopping on my bike.
Because I always wonder, like, are the people that make these decisions, are they the ones on bikes doing shopping in there?
You know what? I called that, bro. Actually, I was in a meeting once when I was on local board, and AT was there, and the politicians were there, and they were all talking about cycle lanes, and I went, okay, I gotta ask, put your hand up if you rode your bike here today. Yeah. No one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And some of the decisions, you scratch your head, and you just wonder if they made the decision because they have experience, like this is the way forward, like because they've done it.
Yeah.
But they haven't.
No. That's what I mean. It's like it's lack of proximity to the real world. I think that's why I say like I feel like I'm homeless on the left now, because it's like I feel like the horse is bolted kind of a little bit on the left. Like it was a real kind of it's Labour, so it was about the working person. It was about those at the bottom that were, so it was that trying to get them a 40-hour week because they were breaking their ass on coal mines for next to nothing, doing 80-hour weeks. It was that kind of. Where now it's kind of like when I think of the left, I think of, a Green Party member on Waiheke Arling swirling her rosé as she talks about the plight of the poor. It's just this. Yeah.
It gets too much sometimes. Yeah. It's funny. I'm still like trying to think what my expectations are for politicians there, because that is a good question.
Yeah.
And like. And we're talking before about how to get things done. We know what the problem is. We know the solutions. Let's get resources into that. But then there's a battle against the proclivity of a politician. The 3-year span of trying to get votes again.
Yeah.
Like you start, maybe the first year is okay, let's do it, and then oh shit, I gotta make sure I'm back in.
Yeah.
So I better make sure I'm doing all the shaking hands and all that, taking photos and then taking off.
Yeah.
But then I wonder if if you're a politician and you're doing all that, maybe you're the face of it, and your staff needs to get all the jobs done.
I definitely think there is a well, this is the interesting thing is I think when a new party comes into effect that there's this massive changeover, but there's not. Like it's kind of like the politicians change, but all the staff of all those ministries are exactly the same people doing the same things. It's kind of, I mean, they take direction from the ministers for sure, but yeah, it's just
Yeah. So your time at when did you finish up at a local board? Because that's when you started the West Side Boxing.
And that's why I didn't.
There's a little overlap.
A little bit, but that's why I didn't rerun. As I was kind of like, I just want sole focus on West City Boxing and trying to get that going. So so I didn't rerun, but so that would have been 2020, I think. Yeah,
I think it was a little bit before you came on the first time.
Yeah.
So that was a interesting sort of a project to get into, and
eye-opening, man. Yeah. I did 2 terms, so you did 6 years on local board, and yeah, man, and met incredible people. Like I definitely think, and like this is a local level, so it's not like they're politicians, but they're not, the same. But yeah, man, I was actually surprised at. I remember turning up to a meeting as a politician on one side, and there was just like this amazing perception of like who I was, like I was just like, to them, I was like this, nasty, just all the things you would think of a politician. And I just remember having this moment of like, oh, like I'm that to them. You know what I mean? Like they don't know anything about me, but there's a perception of who I am, and then I think, I had that perception as well, like of the other people that are here with me, you know. And then I got to know them, and I was like, oh man, you're awesome. You're just kind of stuck in a little bit of a broken system, trying to do your best.
Because I remember that during the elections, the mayoral elections, that was a good time for the podcast because everyone wanted to come on and talk. So I got a few people on. I got that what's that guy? He used to be a broadcaster. Lord, what's his name? Something Lord.
No.
He went for it. I think he came third.
Ah, yeah. Okay, yeah, for the mayoralty.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah.
Third or fourth or something. Yeah, but he was talking about how it works because I didn't know how local board works.
Yeah.
And then local board, you got the councillors, then the mayor.
Yeah.
And the local board's supposed to be the guys on the ground.
Yeah.
Getting all the data, so they can feed up to the.
Yeah.
If there's any problems in the community or in
there's actually really little a local board can do, like kind of parks and community centres and that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It has say over, but outside of that, we're basically just like trying to get the councillors to pay attention, and we're actually, like, I have to say, we're lucky out west. Shane Henderson he's actually a really good, he's really good at his job. Yeah, he's he went to Kelston Boys. He's kind of like, he's west through and through. He genuinely loves this community.
And that's what you want, eh? Guys that are born and bred here out west.
Yeah, and Linda Cooper too. Like she's definitely one that, if I'm honest, like before I'd met her, I had a perception of her, and then when I got to know her, I was like, you're the real deal, So I think, and I've seen them fight. Like I've seen them in rooms like fight for the West. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, respect, Yeah.
So because that Lord guy, he was talking about how he wanted to give more power to the local board. Because he said that they didn't have much.
They didn't, and they don't, I probably agree with that. I think if there's people that are in the community doing community stuff, that makes sense. That if they're tapped into what the community's already doing, where people at the top is kind of like, that's just that suburb over there. Right. What does the mayor know about Henderson? Probably not a lot.
So were you just fed up or just had enough of it? And then
it was definitely a little bit like we'd get small wins that I'd be really excited about, and then big frustrations where I'm like, I just don't think I'm really, like, I'm kind of like, if I'm not being effective, I just like, why am I doing this? Like, there's really no point. And I felt that from time to time. But no, I wasn't. I mean, I probably, if I wasn't starting, like if I was still at Zeal and I wasn't starting this new this new not-for-profit, then I probably would have tried to run again. Yeah. But I just was like, man, I'm so focused. Like, I just really want to get this boxing club out going,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah, I was so passionate about it. Still am, you know.
So how did that start anyway? What was your idea at the beginning?
Oh, well, it kind of fell into it. So I was at Zeal. So Zeal is a youth centre. There's actually youth centres all around the country, mostly the North Island, which are just kind of, well, they started as kind of like these creative arts venues. So all ages shows and stuff like that is where they got their popularity, and lots and lots of young people go through. So in Henderson, at the front of Westwave, is Zeal. It's a big, 1,000 square meter venue that has all sorts of kind of creative stuff going on. And so I just wandered in there one day. Not even, I just kind of wandered in there because I was like, who are these people in my neighborhood? And then I was like, oh, this is cool, and kind of stuck around. And then I ended up running Zeal for a little while. But in the middle there, when I was working there, we had a gang come in, just like a youth gang, and they just weren't really hitting it with the creative stuff. They're kind of just a little bit wild and stuff like that. And I was like, oh man, like, and because I'd grown up boxing and had a lot to do with boxing, I was like, maybe I'll get them super tired, and then they'll just go back home and go to sleep. And then but as soon as I started it, like I remember the first day actually. The kids were super excited about it because I told them, I'm going to start a boxing program with you guys. Are you keen for that? And they're like, yo, all about that. Yeah, teach me how to throw and then, so we did a little bit, we had a talk, and then we went over to a hill and we did hill sprints. And bro, they were just hating it, like just fucking doing it. But they did it. Yeah. And I made it competitive too. So I was like, kind of people that were similar sizes, like, okay, you two go, and then I'd whisper to one of them, bro, I reckon he can beat you up that hill. So they're going for it, but kind of hated it.
Yeah,
but they're
probably wondering with a boxing bag.
Yeah, exactly. They were like, "It's just boxing." Yep. But then walking back to Zeal, I still have this vivid memory of like looking over my shoulder and seeing these guys who are normally like just down here, just like shoulders back, and like feeling a real sense of pride, like they did a thing, they accomplished it, and they feel good, and so it's just that little. And I was like, ooh, I think I'm onto something here. Yeah. And so I ran it at Zeal, and it was like, this is awesome. But I was kind of like, the goal is to do this, like just expand this, like just do this. So
did you have bags in there at Zeal?
Yeah, we had some freestanding bags.
And boxing classes?
Not a lot, but so we did so I did boxing classes at Zeal with a small group. So one of them is working for me now, and as one of the coaches, and the other one is with Adrian at Alpha Boxing, working there. So they're still doing it, and great, amazing young men now that are doing really good. So he kind of started there, and that's kind of just how it kind of just fell into it. I was just like trying to solve a problem of doing something with these young people that would engage them.
So, when it starts off like that, but is like your gym now like getting guys in that want to go into professional or amateur?
So we're actually doing well. We're doing really good as a gym. We've got people that have done really well on a national level, represented New Zealand at Pacific Games in Samoa last year, and doing really well. And so we have a good competitive team. It's a kind of a weird thing so we sit in a really weird place, because a lot of people are like, so are you boxing or are you youth development? And I'm like, yep,
both.
yeah, those. And I love both, like I'm really passionate about both. Like I don't want to teach crappy boxing, like I want to teach really good boxing. And so it's a big part of it, but it's also a big part of like teaching really good boxing and doing well as a gym is really good for youth development, because young people that come in, then some of them who have kind of grown up in the system, they're used to kind of like programs for program's sake, you know, like, oh, this is a youth program and it's free, you know, like, it's like, oh, another one I have to do, you know, where they come in there and they go, oh, whoa, look at those guys, like, wow, they're competing and doing well, and, you know, oh, look at that trophy, or, you know, whatever, and it's kind of like, oh, yeah, it's the real deal, you know, and so it kind of gets them excited, you know, the ones that are coming in and stuff like that as well. So it's good, it's kind of good for both. And then I think the boxers who are kind of like competing and doing really good, it's good for them to kind of see the youth development side as well, and kind of be involved in that, you know.
Yeah, because I can see them wanting to give back too.
Yeah, big time.
And you always see that with athletes, when someone sort of makes it, you know, they always want to feel like they want to give back.
Yeah.
And it always starts with the kids.
It's crazy, man. Like I'm still blown away by it. Like I think, you know, like we had Isaac Peach on the show. So those guys, you know, like they're a gym in West Auckland. I mean, they're punching like flap. They're doing good on a global level. All of those people, Andre, Jerome, Mia, like they've come and spent time with our kids, bro. Mia's come down with our girls, so we do girls classes. Our girls are just like, they're just like, you know what I mean? Like Mia walks in, the girls are just like, oh my God, you know. And same as like we've got a bunch of Liston boys with us, and you know, Andre went to Liston, so you know, these guys are like, yeah. So it's amazing, like they're like, you know, ranked, like super ranked, like Mia's world champion, hanging out with like that.
I know what you mean, man. Because you know, when I was with Isaac, I was just amazed in how, like you're right, how big they're. Like from just having an idea and starting from scratch, a simple thing like on this deck. Yeah. And getting Jerome in from next door. And, they'll do some punching in the next minute.
It's crazy, yeah.
It's crazy, going to England and doing all those matches.
Yeah.
Mia's champion of the world. Yeah. You know?
But they're not yeah, but the surprising thing is they're not selfish with it. Like they spread it out, you know?
Yeah, it was interesting to talk because we talked about just like the status of the sport of boxing in New Zealand. Like New Zealand's always been a fan of boxing as a country, you know. We've always had good boxers, you know. Yeah. David Saw back to Jim Piel, you know, like those days, and even now, you know. I think combat sports in general, New Zealand's always had a love affair with that, but it's never accepted in the mainstream, for some reason.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know? Yeah. Oh yeah, you look at the whole stuff that kind of happened with Israel Adesanya, that with the media and stuff like that. I mean, he's he's global superstar and like gets like a tiny little segment on One News or something. It's just like, if that, you know, it's kind of like, it is a strange thing,
He's a good example. Yeah. And you know, if you take New Zealand out, he's popular around the world. He's like a David Beckham sort of thing character. Like,
100%.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it's sad to me.
And I don't know, I mean, I'm a little bit of a conspiracy theorist, but I do think, so I heard, and I don't know if this is true or not, but I heard from a friend of mine who's doing a sports degree. He was saying like in the 90s, do you remember when like NBA was huge? Remember like
in the 90s, yeah.
You remember like, did you know my older brother played basketball, Aaron? Oh. Like redhead. He was really good. He was a really good basketball player. Anyway, we'd go to like Liston College because they were the only ones that left their hoops up. There'd be like 100 people there, like every day after school, all weekend. Remember, like the 90s was huge, Like
90s was huge in basketball.
So apparently, the NZR, whatever, the New Zealand Rugby, we're like, we need to do something about this, and somehow got the NBA taken off. I don't know if this is true, but this is what I heard from someone who did a sports degree, that they basically were like, rugby's under threat, we need to do something about this, and got it taken off, because you could watch NBA on TV, you know, and so they got
I think Neil Walker was hosting NBA NBA show on TV3 or something.
So it's kind of like, so, you know, I think about like the combat sports and they're like, I don't know, I've no proof at all or anything, but I just, my conspiracy brain starts thinking about like, you know, that sort of thing. Like,
no, it's a good thing to think about because, you know, NZR is a beast in New Zealand, and man, they are suffering right now because the sport of Super Rugby has gone on decline, man. Like, no one's going to any NPC games, no one's watching it. It's not competitive. Yeah,
even at a grassroots level, you know, like my boy, you know, came up through Waitemata, and he still plays at Liston. His boxing's his main thing, but he still plays rugby for Liston and stuff, and he loves it. But even on that grassroots level, like when I was playing at Waitemata, it's like just seemed like every team was packed. You got those prize givings on a Saturday, and all the older guys are big bots, and it's a kind of a big atmosphere. Prize giving now, it's like hardly anyone, and it's just so you could see that kind of threat is there for sure.
Yeah, and I think they need to do something fast, because they're not going to recover if they don't change. And I say that because I'm a rugby union fan, but I've been watching NRL, because NRL was mean. Like NRL is like, see, as a product, if you look at NRL, what they're doing over there,
totally,
and
agree.
how they're marketing,
bro.
And look at the Warriors, and look how you go to the stadium, see the light show and all that kind of stuff, like for the fans, all that kind of stuff. It's the American kind of style, right? You do it for the fans, like you make sure the fans are happy, got what they want, entertainment. This is entertainment, sports entertainment. Keep the fans happy. And you look at rugby, they're not doing anything to the fans.
Right.
There's no, like, I don't know.
I don't even know. I don't watch rugby, so I don't know. But it's interesting that they clearly still have a lot of power, in terms of their ability to influence. So I mean, we've currently right now we have 235 young people in our boxing classes, and we have a wait list of over 100 young people
at West City Boxing.
235
in
right now.
Oh, wow.
We have 26 classes a week. Classes are 30. So we've got a 4 o'clock, 4:45, 5:30, 6:30 class, like every day. And then our competitors classes and sparring with other gyms and all of that sort of fun top. But look at that demand, man. It's crazy. And it's kind of like that's where combat sports are at right now, and no one's talking about it. Like,
man, why is that? Why is that? Is it NZR? Putting the brakes on.
Don't sue me. I don't know. Yeah.
Well, NZR, their rights to Sky TV is like, I think it's 100 million.
Wow.
$100 million. Sky TV to show the games. In Australia, I think it's only 40 million.
Yeah,
because they're like the 4th biggest sport now.
Yeah, right.
I think it's AFL, NRL, cricket, then rugby union.
Yeah.
But no, it's suffering there. But man, it was interesting talking about the basketball, and what that conspiracy theory if they did do that, because man, I do remember how popular basketball was.
Oh, it's crazy, yeah.
I think. Plus, basketball as a sport it's accessible.
Yeah.
All you need is a ball and a hoop. That's it.
Yeah.
You don't need a team to play with, or
even a hoop, like you.
Yeah. And it's so cool, man. You see Michael Jordan back in those days, and just want to be like that, and play.
How many bent hoops in the 90s, bro? Just even when you can hoops like this.
But even like, I don't know, but even New Zealand basketball as a organization, as an association around New Zealand, it's a shambles there.
Is it?
It's like messed up there. It's like they hardly get any money from the government, and they just struggle to, everyone knows the story about Stephen Adams, why he doesn't want to play for the All Blacks, because how he was treated when he was coming up. He had to pay his own way and that kind of stuff, and he made it. He tells a story why he doesn't want to play for the All Blacks, but it's true.
Yeah,
like it's sort of like unorganized. They don't have a proper structure from the top down. Like everybody's starting to make their own basketball leagues. Got the first Polynesian basketball in West Auckland every year happening.
Really?
But it's nothing to do with New Zealand basketball.
Oh, really?
And you got like other things around the country where you have these basketball camps. Like kids go to Tauranga to play in that competition. Like,
yeah.
But these are made up by ex-basketball players.
Yeah.
They go and do their own thing. Yeah. And they're not affiliated with New Zealand basketball.
Yeah.
So it's like New Zealand basketball doesn't want to support any of this kind of stuff. So, whereas, rugby union in this country, it's all structured.
Yeah.
You got, NZR controls everything.
Yeah.
You got
it's a pathway up.
Yeah, it's a pathway up.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff. So, basketball doesn't have that. Like it's all mixed up. But the sport of boxing in New Zealand, that's sort of. Do you get involved with New Zealand boxing association?
Yeah, for sure. Yep. So Yeah, well, I mean, we're Olympic style boxing gym. We do amateur boxing. Yeah, so there's amateur boxing, corporate and professional in New Zealand, and our main focus is with amateur boxing. So we have big, yep. So the way it works in New Zealand is you've got your gym. If they do amateur boxing, they'll be associated to well, I was going to say a regional body, but they're not actually all regional there, but they're called regional bodies. So Auckland Boxing Association. So we're associated with Auckland Boxing Association, and they're under Boxing New Zealand. So
that's the pathway.
That's the pathway.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so my son, for example, not last year, the year before, he won national title, and so then he got selected for the development, for the New Zealand development. This when he's 13, 14, and then so they do camps and that sort of stuff. So there's I think last year and this year they're doing a lot more in terms of kind of that grassroots, more development, looking for talent, and then kind of trying to bring them up through, which is awesome. Definitely been, it's been awesome, like seeing my son, and it's been great for me as well. Like I always say, like my superpower as a coach is like I don't really have any ego in the game. Like I'm kind of just like, so I'll normally turn up, and my biggest thing is I will just pretend like I don't know anything. And coaches are amazing because they're not greedy with the knowledge that they have. So if I go and just act like I don't know anything, and coaches are free with their knowledge, so I'm just constantly grazing what could work for my young people and in our gym, and these development camps are awesome like that. Like you go down, there's like the New Zealand development coaches, and then the coaches around those coaches, and that bring the young people, and so there's just lots of. It's great for for my son that's in the team. It's great for me as well because I'm just kind of going, I'm going to take that back, or oh yeah, I have been doing that, right, or like that sort of thing, or like I'm not sure about that, but I'm but maybe I could adapt it like this in my gym, or that sort of thing. So
that's good because you at least want that to be available, the information there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you always hear bad stories about people that want to talk about anything.
Yeah, it's funny. Like it's just has not been my experience with amateur boxing. Like most of the coaches I've met have just been great, and come over for sparring, or oh, you've got that kid. Oh yeah, I've got a kid about that. Wait, you should come over, and it's awesome. Yeah. And I'm painting a really lovely picture. I'm not everyone's like that, but I just try to it's just a big thing for me where I'm like I really want, and I get it wrong. Don't get me wrong. I can be a real asshole, and but I'm really trying not to be. Like I really want to be kind to everyone that I meet. Like I want that to be my legacy now. Like I'm getting older, and I kind of think, so people are really good to me. I don't know if everyone's good to each other, but some people kind of look almost. It's weird. Like when you're kind to people, they'll either be like, "Oh, that's cool," or they'll meet it with like suspicion almost. It's like, why is it? This is weird. Yeah. But.
Must be a real good community. Like I can see it. Like other gyms, when they meet and that's what they want to do, get the guys to spy each other. Other gyms start.
Yeah,
it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool, man. It's kind of like when I started this gym, I was worried that I was like going to be seen as competition almost, where I just haven't experienced that, people being like, oh, awesome. And now like I'm, 5 years into it, I'm kind of like, of running my own gym, I'm like, oh yeah, I get it, because probably what lacks mostly in amateur boxing is competition. It's just having enough people, by the time you go weight, age, gender, like, oh, how many people are doing amateur boxing that are that way, It's like the young fella. I was at Isaac Peaches today, and I had my little 40 kg fella, there's just no one else at our gym that's like, the next guy, we got heaps of big island boys in our gym, It's like, so, but Isaac's got a guy, he's just like, bring him over and we'll get them in the ring, and they're throwing down. It's awesome. It's great. Yeah. So that's kind of probably the one thing that of why gyms are kind of like, let's all So now when I see another boxing gym open up, if they're doing amateur boxing, I'm like, yeah, awesome, cool. And like bring more in.
How many out west? How many
So
boxing gyms out west?
that do amateur boxing?
Yeah, or how many gyms like yours? Like,
So Imran runs a gym called Universal Boxing in Te Arotu Peninsula. Peach, obviously. Us. I'm not sure. There's other gyms doing awesome stuff, but I'm not sure if there's any more that are doing amateur boxing out west. Oh no, I think Vin at Combat Centre. I think they've got registered amateur boxers as well. Obviously, they do multiple things, but they've got amateur boxers as well. Yeah, I could be missing someone, but
yeah. So the community is there, eh?
yeah. But it's there. But if you think about like, so I've got 235 kids, and you think, oh, that's huge. But I've got like 15 competitors. And that's big, you know, like compared to some gyms, it's like, well, that's a lot of competitors. But, and then if you take that 15, you go, okay, what's your weight? What's your age? You know, like for a cadet and mini cadet, you need to be within 2 kg, you know, to get a competition. You can do exhibition bouts, but just to get a competition, you know, you got to be within 2 kg. We've got to be within, you know, 24 months of date of birth, you know, going to be the same gender. So by the time you go like that, all of a sudden it's, you know, it's a lot of where you go over to countries that have bigger populations, whether boxing's big or not, just population, you know, like, and it's even harder for our girls, you know, we've got 3 competitive girls, you know, I've got one girl who's great, she's had 3 exhibition bouts and no competitive bouts, even though I've nominated her for everything. It's just because there's just no one around. So the exhibition means that they didn't quite meet that, but they can still get in and give it a good go. But it's not competition because they didn't quite, just wasn't quite that match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the exhibition belts, are they like the same rules as the big exhibition belts?
Yeah. And you know, normally what will happen is I'll have a conversation with the other coach. So, so like for that girl, in one of her bouts, the other girl was a lot more experienced. So I just had a conversation with that coach and just said, hey, like, this is where my girl's at. And, you know, and he was like, Charlie, at Taumaranui, you know, he was like, oh yeah, you know, I'll tell my girl she'll look after her, you know, and she did, you know, where others where it's a little bit closer, but maybe there's a thing, it's like, yeah, go. Yeah.
Man, 200 and something boxes at your gym, like, must be, how do you manage that? Like with I know you have the classes, but how do people know to come in and there's a bag for you or there's space?
It's super organized. So that you come into like, we've planned our classes. So you come in.
They have to book? Or?
So you have to register. So you register through our website. And at the moment, unfortunately, they'll get an email back saying, unfortunately, we're full. We can't take any more young people on. But you're on a wait list and we'll get in contact with you when we can.
Sounds like bigger space needed.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. It just feels like work.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so then we've got, you know, our mini cadet boys is a class of 30. And so our mini cadets are kind of like 9 to 11 years old. So that's that class of 30. And then we've got our cadet ones, so that's 12, 13, and 14 years old. So we've got cadet ones and then cadet twos. So we've got 2 classes of those. And then we've got our junior youth, which are 15, 16, and 17, 18. And then we've got kind of elites above that. And we've got 2 classes of those each as well. And so they're all of 30. So they just mix with their 30 to begin with anyway. So one class will come in on a Monday and Wednesday, and the other class will come in on a Tuesday and Thursday. And then we've got girls. So we've got 2 rooms, and so they run. So we've got one class running here and one class running next door. Yeah. So it seems that's a lot of people if you had them all in one space, but it is kind of like 4:00. You know, there's 60 kids there, spread over 2 rooms. And then, you know, some kind of like hang around on the couches and da-da-da. But then mostly, you know, like they clear out and then the next 60 come in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Wow. in a span of 2 years.
Yeah. Well, 2019 we started in that little hall in Sunnyvale. But it took a while to really kind of get going. So in 2019, we're mostly kind of like going into the hall after the crocheting club and before the taekwondo. You know, it was like kind of like go and sit, you know, do some pads with a few kids, and then kind of like grew from there. And then 2020 we were still there. 2021 we moved to Henderson, and then 2022 we expanded next door.
I was thinking, like, obviously it's the popularity of the sport of boxing and combat sports. But man, how do you explain the numbers? Like, especially the kids, like, coming in. Like I can understand going to play soccer or rugby, but then this looks like, you know, there's a third option here. It's boxing.
Yeah.
You know? Because the numbers prove that it's popular.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And we don't advertise at all. It's just,
So how do you explain that? Like, what's the trend and why?
Yeah, it's a good question. I haven't really thought of it. I do think, like the fact that we're a youth development organisation probably plays some part to the numbers, because in some ways those numbers work against us, and that's why I've started a competitive team. So with our competitive team, it's kind of like that high level, and part of that is spending time at other gyms and watching how they do it, and they just have a focus with some of them have a focus with a small amount. Like I think of Peach Boxing as a good example of that. You know, they've got a stable that have like, that's the team, and they do other stuff as well, but that team is just like tight family, you know, like and they, you know, like if someone doesn't train hard, they'll know about it, you know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of environment. And so, you know, having that many numbers at West City Boxing is kind of like, it's worked against us a little bit, because people are there for a whole varied of reasons. You know, some are just, you know, they're bullied at school, and so they want to kind of get a little bit of confidence. Some are just trying to get fit, you know, maybe they've been bullied, or, you know, you know, a lot of kind of either just walked off the streets and they want to learn how to beat people up better, and then but get absorbed into the culture, and then that kind of, you know, that dies down, or referrals from services and stuff. But so I've kind of started this group of kind of like just a really tight knit group where it's like, if you're here, you want to be a world champion, like, and don't waste my time, like, you're gone if you're not here. Like,
pick the ones that you think, want to take it to the next level. So I think be serious about it.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah. So and that's really good. Like, that team is really, you know, bonding and kind of pushing each other. And like, even tonight, like, I'm just like, I can't be there. I'm taking things. I'm like, turn up and do the work. So they don't even have a coach, but they're there tonight, just like, I can see on my phone, like, I've got CCTV. I was like, who's there? And they're there, like, they turn up and they're just like going for it, you know. So it's cool.
Because you can teach a lot of leadership doing that, eh? Like, through that kind of system, eh? Like,
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's really big for us as well. So that's what I was saying. So I think, you know, one other thing with our numbers is just that it's that youth development thing. So we have a lot of practices where when a young person walks into our gym, they're met with smiles and shaking of hands, you know, and all of our kids that are in the class, if you consider West City Boxing home, there's an expectation that you'll stop what you're doing. You'll walk up to that person who's just walked in, you'll look them in the eye, give them a handshake and say hi and introduce yourself. And so just those kind of little things that are probably a little bit more, well, I mean, there's probably boxing gyms that do a lot of that, but it's kind of that youth work practice. I guess it's kind of like more forefront in my head of like, I want a young person to walk in and immediately feel welcome. You know, that's that sort of thing. So I'm guessing that's probably that thing of like why the demand is so huge, is kind of just stuff like that.
Because there's a lot of anxiety coming into a boxing gym.
Yeah, I remember some of the boxing gyms. I went to a number of boxing gyms, and a lot of them are great, but some of them I walked into is just like, yeah, man.
Even going to anything for the first time.
Oh yeah,
like
totally,
a group,
100%. Yeah,
you know, because you're not part of the group you want to join. Like, you don't know anyone. It's like,
yeah, I went to a wedding the other week, and I was like, my wife's friend. I was like, oh man, they're really nice people, but I'm just like, I don't know anyone.
Just look on your phone.
yeah,
for an
yeah,
hour.
pretty much. No one's talking to me. Yeah,
Man, I hate those situations.
yeah.
I gotta
same.
force myself to go talk.
Yeah,
You know, but I don't know what to talk about. But man, just go and just say anything. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Get that Dutch courage, eh?
I was gonna say, man, you know, white people, man, they're good at doing that.
They
you know?
are. Yeah, they are.
You know, the mix and mingling.
Wealthier white people. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
different when you grow up like I did. You gotta learn that shit.
But I think, like, when I heard some advice about how to approach, like, how to be in a room with people you don't know, or people in different class, how do you interact?
Yeah,
And the advice was better to be yourself in a way where who cares about what they think,
yeah,
and because it's something new to them.
yeah.
Because no matter what you're
True.
gonna say,
That's true.
they haven't
man.
heard it before,
Yeah,
and they'll be
that's so
interested.
true.
And they'll be interested in. Where are you from again? Like,
Yeah.
what's that place like?
Yeah.
Oh, Ranui. Oh, that's like, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that you say it, I've never really thought about it like as a principle, but that is so true, man.
Yeah.
And I experienced that as a politician, you know, like when I got elected the first time, this is a true story. I went to walk into my inauguration. Is that what it is? You know, when you get inauguration? I think that's right. Weird. And I was stopped by security. I just must have working class Westie on my face or something. I'm like, and he was, oh, sorry, mate, this is just for new elected members and their families. And I was like, yeah, bro, that's
me.
I'm one of them. And he was just like, come on. I was like, no, I am. Like, went away and then came out and was like, oh, sorry. Like, no, all good. But I've been in rooms like that where I'm just like feel way out of place with people that are But you're right. It is kind of like just be myself because they find it interesting. And it's like,
yeah, exactly. And it's almost like you're doing them a disfavor when you're not.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I heard that and I thought, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to actually do it.
Yeah, same. I've definitely been in rooms where I'm, yes, that is. I've never thought of that. Yeah.
But no, it's good. It's good that you have that like sort of thing in the gym where someone new comes in, go say hi.
Yeah.
Like it's like a normal thing to do.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you never know what the other person thinks. You know.
That's right. Yeah.
It might make their day.
Yeah.
Might be the first hi
yeah.
they got all day or a whole week. You know.
Yeah. Yeah. More so than ever, I reckon. That sort of stuff. That's what I was saying. Like my kind of like my big thing is like trying to be kind. I just feel like it's in the world we live in now. Man, kindness is just and that's the weird thing is when people meet kindness with suspicion, and I'm kind of like, yeah, man, they're like that. How crazy is that? But it kind of makes sense that because it's just such a rarity. Like we like to get on community Facebook posts and to the guy whose dog shat by my driveway, and then everyone piles on, you know, like yeah.
Do you find that's funny?
Shut up.
I find those funny, man.
Yeah, I find
it funny.
Yeah.
I saw one, you know, we're in the Ranui page, the community page, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think someone posted up, man, I had the package outside my door, and this guy just came off the street, grabbed it, and walked off. And then people commenting, how come you didn't do anything? Oh, I was holding my baby. I don't want to go outside in case, you know, might be dangerous.
Yeah.
You know? I was like, wow.
Yeah, everyone just piles on, eh? Yeah.
Oh, and then I saw your story about someone busted in your gym.
Yeah.
Did you find the guy?
Nah, we got the feelers out. But
Radio A, was it?
Yes, our stereo. Yeah. It seemed like it was. At first, it seemed like someone we knew because I was just like, "How do you know where that is?" But yeah, I mean, we've got our doors open as we walk past. There's plenty of people that just kind of walk past and could see things, and yeah, but it is a shame, man. You kind of like see something like that with someone that, you know, it's like it's not like we're in this for the money, you know, like we're a charity. We do a lot of volunteer hours to make this thing happen. So it sucks when that kind of thing happens. Yeah. Almost did those you know, I just want to say I'm not angry and, you know, God bless the guy that, but then I was like, nah, get my speaker back, bro.
What kind of speaker was it? Was it
like one of those big JBL ones.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
it was like $1,000, bro. It was,
Oh.
yeah. And then the window, like, the company was like, it's like a.
Did they actually smash the window?
Yeah, they smashed the
Oh,
window.
wow.
To come in.
Alarm
That's
went
more
off.
than the experience. Alarm with. There's more than the stereo.
Oh,
Yeah.
shucks.
Anyway, what do you do?
Put some bars in.
Yeah, it's already got. There's like bars everywhere. It's Henderson, bro. It's like there's like bars up over there with those little pointy things.
Yeah.
But you can get around them. Yeah.
Remember that dairy that used to be there with the video store?
Yes. Yeah.
That spot, eh?
Yeah. It's a video store. Yeah. Yeah. That's where we are. Yeah.
Oh,
And Cheapskates was.
that's
next
right.
door. Yeah.
Next door. Eh?
Yeah. Yeah. I was
Yeah,
thinking
I
about
remember
that because like it
Cheapskates.
was like we're there now, and when I was a teenager, I remember just like sitting at Cheapskates and like no one kicked me out, and we just like watched skate videos all day. I was like, that was kind of a use into it, like yeah. And so now we're there. It's like it's funny.
Is that? I know there was one in Newmarket, eh? Or
Yeah, the big one was in
is that still there?
Kaiba Pass.
Kaiba Pass.
Still there. Yeah, yeah. That's
Oh,
the
so they're
OG.
still
That's the
going.
OG one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That is OG. Yeah.
yeah.
Do you know who owns it? Who runs it?
Not anymore.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah, I remember Cheapskates with the skaters go there.
Yeah,
Get your Santa Cruz board and
yeah. And
all that
actually,
stuff.
for a while, they had a little half pipe out the back. You could skate
Oh,
there.
true.
And yeah, next door they had like these little concrete kind of like pyramid type things, and skate around there as well.
oh.
Yeah,
And Doyle's, remember Doyle's?
yeah. I remember Doyle's. Yeah,
The army store in
yeah.
K Road's shutting down.
Dang.
That's been there for
Yeah,
years,
that's
man.
been forever. Yeah,
That's been there for years.
Yeah.
That's probably the last of its kind now, eh? The army store.
yeah, yeah. Last thing I bought from there was a pocket knife.
I had to take my cousin over there. He came from Samoa because he wanted to get a dog tag
Oh
and
yeah,
his
yeah,
name on it.
yeah.
And I said, "Where did you get this from?" Oh, in the army store on K Road. And, oh, so we went there. And, that's cool. If I knew this, I would have got one ages ago.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awesome.
Have your name on it and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, so good stories coming out of the gym, eh?
Yeah.
Good stories of the kids.
Yeah, man. It's kind of like one good story and then a bad story and then a good story. Like it's just this is youth work. It's kind of like some nights you go home and you're just like elated, like someone decided to turn their life around, or someone did something amazing, or one of our boys got a job, or one of our boys is going to university, first kid that's gone to university, and then at the same time, it's like heartbreaking stories of like this kid, we journey with him for like 3 years, and then his older brother comes out of jail and makes him be a lookout for an ag rob, and he's gone inside, so it's kind of like this roller coaster of emotions that comes along with youth work, and you put everything into it, like it's and I've got amazing people, like yes, actually just had social workers email me today. I've got a youth worker coach, Shamil. She does our girls, but she also, so we do during the day we have like a mentoring program, so kids that get into trouble, they go to this table where like all different services meet, and then they kind of go, okay, what do we do with this young person? And so we're one of the services that kind of can take that young person on. And this social worker just emails today. It's just like this one family that Shamil's working with. It's just like, she's just like, man, it's like incredible. Like it's just this whole family's like turned around because of just the compassion that Shamil's showing, and just the practical help even and stuff like that. That's so I get an email like that, and I'm just like, yeah, this is awesome. Well, I might get one tomorrow that's like, sorry, so and so's been locked up. He did this, and I'll just be like, oh, I'll go home and cry.
There's that roller coaster.
Yeah.
Because part of my question when I asked like about the 200 people coming to the gym and that, it's like, what is it about boxing that helps kids? Like, so I figured it's the sport itself, how much harder it is, the competitiveness of it. Like it brings out something in humans, eh?
Yeah, I think it has the potential to. I definitely think, like I wouldn't say boxing in and of itself would turn a young person's life around if, say they come from trauma and they get into boxing. I think their relationship with their coach is probably the big thing. But in saying that, boxing does have things that if the coach is compassionate and cares about that, not that they have to be nice all the time, because boxing coaches are boxing coaches, and I'm like that. Like, I'm grumpy, sometimes, and I have high expectations, and I tell kids off and all of that. But there's still like you're my kid, like I care about you and stuff. And I think if that's combined with a coach like that, then then it brings out things like just resiliency. We look at our mental health epidemic. We look at how we deal with mental health. Like, how we deal with mental health is to acknowledge it and diagnose it, and then kind of try and take away the things that assist that young person into going into. So if they're, say it's depression, and they're experiencing depression because of a relationship, there might be kind of counselling around that to try and alleviate that. Where boxing, I think, is more about resilience. So it's not about the outside world. It's not about the depression. It's about building this resilience to go that, like, this sucks right now. And if you don't give up, you're going to feel great. So let's do it, and that might be a really small thing one day, and then it kind of grows and grows and grows. So I think, boxing has that, which I think the world just really needs right now, is kind of like just that real building resiliency, rather than just trying to take away the things that hurt people, but actually go, yeah, let's go through this together, and let's actually go head on into it. Let's go head on into hardship. So that's one thing that I think is incredible about boxing. Not just boxing, but definitely boxing. Like, it's a lonely sport, and it's hard, and it's combat sports are particularly hard. Yeah, if you've ever been in the ring, it's an experience. And it's And then after, like, if you win, you're on top of the world. If you lose, you just, there's no one that can console you, like, it's just, and all those things are amazing, like when I see a kid that's lost, kind of just break down and go through that, and we process that together. I'm just like, this is awesome, like, so there's that. And then I think, one of the big things that I've really learned that I didn't even consider was just this emotional regulation. So especially when young people start sparring, so when we get them into sparring in those kind of early days, like it's quite a shock almost to get punched in the face for the first time. And there's a number of kind of ways that kids will deal with it. They'll either just immediately kind of get teary and go, I can't, like, I don't want to do this. Or more often than not in Henderson, it's kind of like, just
it's on
big, why, so technique is gone. And so when technique's gone, if they're with someone who's capable, like, then they just get picked off. And so then there's this real kind of desire to regulate this emotion that I'm feeling, to kind of like experience it, but manage it and keep it so that it works for me, not against me. And I think that's really, like, I don't know too many other things apart from combat sports that really do that well, if you have a coach that kind of does that with you.
So you mean the process and the making the technique work?
Yeah,
like,
like they'll
because it throws you off, and you start.
So they'll go in, like first time sparring or first few times sparring, first month sparring, and they get punched in the end, and it's like, oh, you just see this, kind of rage coming, and then just big wild punches and no guard, and their chin comes up in the air, and they end up, getting beaten. So then they come back to the corner, and you're like, that didn't go well, did it? And you're like, no. Why didn't it go well? It's like, I don't know. I'm saying, because you lost control of that emotion. Your chin came in. So you have to feel it, absolutely feel it. But let's see if you can take control of that, eh? Yeah, okay. And so,
damn.
Yeah.
But you're describing something, and it's as a fighter hearing that, like, see, he understands why he was getting beaten.
Yeah, totally.
And you're just reminding him, remember, you're gonna be in control. Like, you're losing control. That's why you're going everywhere. Like, see, he's thinking, yeah. But it's the process, eh?
Yeah.
that's coming back to him.
Yeah.
But see, it's that whole thing, that whole interaction
Yeah.
from a coach reminding him,
Yeah.
reminding the fighter,
Yeah.
remember what you learned.
Yeah.
Remember what we taught you.
Yeah.
Remember your training.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
that's powerful, eh?
That's crazy.
And
yeah.
then when they realize, oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah. 'cause-
It's literally anger management
Yeah.
in real time.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yes.
It's not
and,
this
and
like
in a short period
you're
of
not
time.
like you're not sitting in a room kind of going, hey, you know, like when you feel these feelings, this,
Yeah.
you know, like take 10 deep breaths. And not that that's bad. You know, I think anger management is really good, but it's incredible to do it in real time. Here's the anger right now. I'm experiencing it right now. Okay, take a big deep breath. Okay, how do you feel now? Still a little bit, you know, and so, you know, you're kind of doing it in real time. It's like, yeah, it's powerful.
And when say that happens, right, and then he wins the fight because
Yeah.
he's taking control, that must be even
Yeah,
better.
Amazing. Yeah.
But see, I get it, man. It's like, but I get it in a way where you're going in detail what's going on step by step.
Yeah.
That whole process of relearning
Yeah.
and teaching again, and for it to come back on you.
Yeah.
You know, as a coach, it's like, yes, that's
Yeah.
my boy. That's
Yeah.
my boy. You know, like,
Yeah.
man, that is. I can feel it. That is the awesome feeling, the adrenaline, eh?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Man.
Yeah.
And that's why you do it again and again and
Yeah.
again.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. 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 And that's weird. Like, that's why, you know, sometimes I'm like, you know, when one of my kids lose in a boxing match, I'm like, yes, you know, they needed that. It's perfect for them. Like, you know, we're going to go through this process together now. You know? Like, yeah. And it's hard and it's awful and you feel it. But then you turn up to training on Monday. That's awesome.
I liked when you said the word resilience and how boxing teaches the kids that in a way where teaches the kids resilience in a physical way. You know, and they get the mental side after that.
Yeah.
Because they've already felt it physically.
Yeah.
It's like the old, like before they had this no smacking law. When you got in trouble, if you did something bad and your parents gave you a hiding, you didn't do it again.
Yeah.
Because you know the consequence.
It's consequences. Yeah.
Because you know, like, okay, I got a hiding for that. I'm not gonna do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
And resiliency is super transferable. You know, like if you can be resilient in one area, you can often be resilient in others because you've learned the process of resiliency. So whether it's physical or it's mental or whatever, it's still the same process of like, this sucks.
Yeah.
And this will pass. And so I just have to ride this, you know, rather than, you know, what a lot of kind of society has become about now is kind of like, this sucks. How do I get rid of it? How does this get taken away from me? You know, like,
go over it, not around it or something like that.
Yeah.
Because you hear it all the time with teachers, if you talk to teachers these days, like resilience is a word they say kids don't have these days, especially the young kids, like, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, I'm just thinking lack of resilience is probably another one of the factors of the kids having kids problems these days.
Yeah, I think so.
And how they deal with the world because they can't, they're not taught how.
Yeah.
Or when things suck, then, you know, they go down and depressed. And,
Yeah.
you know, things that we hear people, I don't know. Oh, we knew people that were depressed when we were young too, but I don't think it was, worse now. How kids get
I think
depressed.
absolutely it is. I mean, statistically it is, but it is. I mean, it's kind of a blessing and a curse. Like I do think like recognition of depression is really good. It's just that I think how we deal with it isn't always the best way. Like it was like I think, you know, I had depression through a period of my life when I was young, and it was undiagnosed, and I mean, to be really honest, like, I don't mind, it was years ago, but I attempted to take my life and came really close, and ended up in hospital, and I look at that and go, you know, I think if it could have been diagnosed, and the right help was given, that probably would have been really good. I also, though, at the same time, had an experience when I first started working, where I had incredible anxiety, but the word anxiety didn't exist to me then. And so every morning so from the night before, I'd be in sweats, I couldn't sleep, you know, to a point where by the morning where I'd have to get up for work, I would be vomiting, like just this crazy, like, felt like I was going to die, but the term anxiety didn't exist. And so my dad didn't know what to do about it. And we were like, if you want to live in this house, go to work, because you ain't school anymore. And so I was kind of just pushed to go. And it was horrible, but over a period of months of kind of facing that, and I guess it was resiliency. Probably in an ideal world, it would have been a little bit staggered rather than just, like, but still, because it wasn't a diagnosis, I learnt slowly that I know if I can get into my work about 30, 40 minutes in, the anxiety is going to be gone.
Right.
And so over time, over years, it's good. And now I'm kind of like, go away, I don't care. And I think about like a young person now that immediately be diagnosed with anxiety, which is fine. But in a lot of cases, the solution would be, so don't go to work, because we want to take that anxiety away from you. So then they never learn that kind of like how to get through the other side to a point where it's kind of like, okay, that's gone. Because anxiety is all about kind of like the thing that's in the future. It's always kind of the thing that's going to happen. You're not normally ever anxious about a thing that's happening to you right now. It's always future. So, yeah.
I was just thinking about what anxieties I had in the past, and you said in the future. I think mine were like at the moment.
Yeah.
Some similar.
Yeah.
Like being around people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Is that one?
Yeah.
But I think I always thought I had it worse than other people.
Yeah.
And it's always surprised me.
Even when it was with other people, though, what were you anxious about with other people? Like, was it that what might happen with other people?
It's funny because I always think like, man, I think they're noticing me like not doing anything. Like, who's this weird guy like being by himself?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
If I don't do anything,
yeah,
but I'm too scared to do something.
Yeah.
Like approach people and that.
Yeah.
I had that kind of anxiety back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the future stuff was because I was the kind of guy that if I lost something, I'll just get over it. Like I always like say I lost $20 on the bus. Some people will get mad and but nah, damn, I'll just walk on because I know I'll get $20 later on. It was that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I was never worried about that kind of stuff like in the future. But I think my anxiety now is like because I'm getting older. It's more like health wise. Because like, man, there's a lot of people around us that have passed away.
Bro, it's crazy.
Same age or younger.
Yeah, man.
Even like back at school, like social media, like you see people.
Yeah,
like
it's crazy. Like it creeps up on you. I'm the same. I mean, we're the same cohort. Yeah, like I just think of like, people that have passed away. I'm just like, am I at that age now where like,
bro, that's what I think, man.
Like, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, how did that happen?
So my anxiety, if it is anxiety or just thinking about, man, I think I get a checkup, yearly checkup and all that kind of stuff.
That's good. Hey, if it motivates you to do that, that's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, when you're depressed and that, like when you think about it, when you're younger, and like how did any of that experience you had like help you through your social work in the early days? Like, because you recognize yourself and you recognize that on the kids you worked with.
Yeah, I think it definitely, like, a lot of people think, to be a youth worker, you have to have gone through the same thing. I don't think, actually, to be honest, like sometimes I've seen that work against people because there's an assumption that what you've experienced is exactly the same as what they're experiencing. But it could be completely different, so I don't think it's necessarily that, but I do think for me, the fact that, I guess, living where I did with the family that I had, I mean, I love my family, but, solo dad that worked his ass off, that he had major depression with us growing up. So home wasn't a happy place to be, some violence in the home, but, before that. And so I, just wandered onto the streets just because, it was a more fun place to be as a kind of pre-adolescent and adolescent, and then met people who are still great friends to this day, but we got up to some mischief and stuff, and I look at that stuff that we did, I look at young people now, and I don't claim to have the same experience, but I do. When I see a behavior that's like really negative, I think because I've lived that, I can kind of look through that behavior and see the pain that's underneath it, that's kind of causing that behavior. So I do think in that way it's good that I kind of went through some stuff like that, and some depression and that sort of stuff. So when so I do, in that way it's kind of good. Like I see someone, a kid like nutting out or that kind of thing, and I just see pain, like I just see like he's just walls are up and I'm just trying to cope right now, rather than, oh, you little shit, although I feel like that sometimes.
Yeah. Because that kid that turned around and punched you, like, do you think that was like he's doing that because he can't believe you're helping him?
Yeah,
or
maybe.
He's trying to push that.
I do. Yeah, it's weird with that. Like I never felt any. Even though like I haven't told a lot of people that story, but I have told people, and they're just like, "How did you not get?" And my heart just immediately broke for that kid. To be that drastic to that extent, where it's just to go to that because. He just couldn't show any vulnerability. There's just like, what life he must have lived to be to have to do that so that you don't show any vulnerability, any kind of weakness at all.
So he didn't mean to do it, but
no,
he probably couldn't believe. You might be the only person that actually said
it was probably pretty weird to him, eh? Like,
yeah. Because you never get that all your life. So how you supposed to cope when it does happen? Yeah, it's like the opposites of being resilient, eh?
Yeah.
Like,
but the most heartbreaking about all of that was that we were really getting some gains with him, and that was hard because I knew after that, he had a bad run, and I don't know where he's at now, but I still think about him. But we were. There was a point, like when I first met him, I was like, "This kid is hard." Like, I just couldn't get through, And then, but he loved boxing, and he's good at it, and his whole family is very good, and so I felt like we were getting somewhere, and other people were commenting like, "Oh, well, your social workers were saying, man, this is crazy," so you get all this excitement. In just one moment, So my biggest thing is kind of been like how to let that go, because in my head I'm like, what did I do wrong? What could I have done differently? Maybe I was getting him into sparring too soon, or a whole bunch of things. But because he wanted to, like, his big motivating factor was that he wanted to get back in the ring, and so I'd actually nominated him for a thing. So I was like, we kind of got to get sparring to get to that, and that's a big motivating thing for him. This is what's getting him to turn up every day. So I kind of had to do that, but then, it's like, I don't know. It's like, how long was that? That was like 4 years ago, and I'm still, it's like, what could I have done, Yeah.
It's interesting. I've learned today, like, how the sport of boxing does help troubled kids.
Yeah.
As opposed to a team sport. Like,
it can do.
You think it's the same, eh? Because you think a team sport, there's a teammates there. You deal with each other. You're helping each other.
Yeah.
Like if you go play a rugby game, your peers, you fight with each other. You go play, and you think, and people probably think that is the best way to get through kids, because it's the camaraderie of other players, other kids.
Yeah.
But boxing is different. You're by yourself, eh? Like you said, it's just you and the coach.
But you are a team as well.
But it's the coach, eh?
Yeah.
And that communication.
That's kind of definitely the big relationship that matters, is that
because it's one-on-one.
Yeah.
As opposed to maybe the coach of a whole rugby team, he's got to cater for 15 guys rather than one person.
But it's also team. It is that kind of like, it's the camaraderie in the gym and all of that sort of stuff that I think. Yeah, that's big. That whole kind of, like with our classes, we often I'll constantly actually be looking at that class and going, what is the culture in this class right now? Like, what's the dynamic? Like, if I see someone walk in there and everyone kind of goes, hey man, hey you, and shakes their hand and all that, I'm like, okay, that's good. That's kind of my test. If someone walks in and it's a little bit kind of, people don't do that, or different things that are going on, I'm kind of like, okay, this class needs help. Like, this class, we need to build something. And if it's really healthy, I will bring probably one of our referrals in. So like I said before, we get kids through different ways. So if a class is really healthy, then I'll bring kind of someone who's come from a lot more trauma, and I'll bring them into the class, and then they'll be absorbed by that culture, you know, because it's definitely where, you know, I've done lots of work in my past where it's just like everyone in the room comes from crazy traumatic situations, and to try and change that dynamic, I mean, there's not a lot you can do, you know.
Wow.
Like, it's just pull them aside and one-to-one, absolutely. But that group is just going to dominate, man. Yeah.
How did it get that? How did it get to that situation when you got a bunch of people?
Oh, so we've I've run an alternative education school. So kids that have been expelled from mainstream school, stuff like that. So they'll come like that. And don't get me wrong, like, those kids are awesome. Like, you know, I love them. But the dynamic was just, we were constantly just kind of like trying to penetrate this kind of like dynamic that was just constant. Like, yo, I did this, you know, last night. I was like, hey guys, you know, trying to kind of redirect that conversation. Like, yo, it's just constant. Like, yeah, it's hard to.
So was that like was that like a lesson? Was that like something that you guys had to do but didn't know how it was going to turn out? And then it happened, and it's like, okay, that's not working. It's not working, guys. We better think of a new way.
I wish that was the case, but I knew.
Oh, yeah.
But I kind of was like, man, I just always have hope, you know, like, yeah, I knew, but I was just like, nah, we can make a difference. And we did, you know, like, yeah, like I said, like those kids, a lot of them are still engaged with us, even though we're not running the school anymore. You know, they still drop in and say hi and all of that sort of stuff. And we've got really good relationship with them. Love those kids. But in terms of like, really big, you know, those big long lasting changes, it's just, yeah, those dynamics. So you imagine, you know, you put that on steroids and, you know, like youth justice or prisons or that sort of stuff. I mean, you imagine those dynamics in there and like like, how do you shift a culture of like someone that goes into that environment, you know? It's very difficult.
Not sure if you've been following I think the government just stopped doing those cultural reports for the courts and that kind of stuff. Were you ever involved with
No, it's never.
giving information for reports and that?
Yes, yeah, a while ago, yeah.
Because then I would have assumed that they would have talked to youth workers and that.
Well, it was never. It wasn't something that we had to do. It was definitely like we would have a relationship with a young person, and through that young person, be like, oh, hey, coach, like I've got caught, you know, like it still happens now, you know. Now it's like, oh, coach, I got caught, and like, yeah, I'll come, you know. And so then I'll meet with their lawyer, and they'll look, oh, that's great. Could, you know, I might introduce you and sometimes the judge might say, oh, so what's and I'm like, oh, I'm a youth worker, and he comes to my thing and maybe say something that the court doesn't know about this young person, you know, or that kind of thing. Yeah.
Because they cancelled that, and then I think that you got to pay for your own because they're spending too much money. But they also gonna not do the whole ankle bracelet thing to most of offenders.
Oh,
now.
I didn't hear that.
You're gonna go straight to jail.
Oh, right.
Because apparently there was a thing where judges had to not put people in jail, like give alternatives.
Yep, that's true. There's definitely that with young people of kind of like reorientating them away, and I can see both sides. I mean, it's funny where I sit on that whole kind of thing around justice, because on one side, you know, I understand that if a young person goes into that system, then they're way more likely to reoffend.
That's a lot of. That's an argument a lot of people make. Yeah.
Well, it's fact, like that's statistically true, but that's because of where they're going. Like, because the other side is that a lot of times there's a victim, and as a victim, to have someone that has hurt you not get a consequence, that's kind of reliving that all over again. So, you know, that side needs to be considered as well. my kind of thing is like, and these are left and right arguments again, and my thing is like, like both. Like, if they go into the system they currently go in, it's not good, and they will probably reoffend. I've seen it like over and over again. I've had kids that have started to turn their lives, did one stupid thing, gone and came out like glass over their eyes. Like, that's it. Like, on the other side, the right wing's going, we just need more consequences in it, but that doesn't work either. So I'm kind of like both. Like, you can't just have no consequences. But when you go in, like that, my thing is what's happening when they're in there. Like, if they're just going into to a training camp to be a bigger, better gangster, then you know what I mean?
Then there's no point.
But there's an opportunity there when they go in there to be like, and I'm not saying make a summer camp. I'm saying make it intervention heavy so that when they come out, they're exposed to a completely different life, so that they've got, opportunity to actually start to turn their life around. So my thing is not like lighter sentences or harsher sentences. My thing is like, there should be consequences, and while you've got them, let's try and turn their lives around so when they do come out, they're not going to be worse than when they went in.
I mean, the word rehabilitation there, it means something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And you're right. You go into a criminal training ground, or you go into like a rehabilitation, and maybe the answer is getting different sort of prisons. You need a prison for the mosque shooter.
Yeah.
Those people, they need prisons to help, like, really rehabilitate.
Yeah.
Like, do a degree.
Yeah.
Or something.
Yeah.
And
it'll still suck for them. Like, that's the thing, is like, you people on the right are like, oh, but then you're just, like, it's a summer camp. I'm like, no, it's not. We don't want that either. Like, we want justice. I believe in justice, like, I believe if you've been wronged, you deserve justice. Absolutely. I also don't want people coming out that can hurt me.
They do it again.
And the likelihood at the moment, if they go into jail, is that they absolutely will be worse when they come out.
Yeah. And the other problem is coming out and they can't get a job. Yeah. Conviction.
Totally. Yeah.
Another problem,
Yeah. And they've just been out of it for so long, and they go into a world they don't.
I heard the Greens said something about alternative prison or something, or take away the prisons. I didn't look into it. I just heard something like that. I should have a look at it.
Yeah, but right. Yeah,
taking away the prisons. Hey, so what are you going to do?
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think this is the thing of like and this is what I make the joke about them, swirling their rosé. But it is that kind of thing of, I think, the left have now, they just don't have that proximity anymore. And so they're idealistic. So they have these big ideals of what would it be, and like I said before, like recidivism, that's a statistic, but there's also some reality that you see in real life that informs that. You know what I mean? So if you're only looking at statistics, you're going to come up with policies like that of like, well, if they're going to reoffend, let's take away the prisons, and you know what I mean. But if you've ever been, in Henderson and someone on crack comes up to you and twacks you in the head, you're going to want justice, whether you're a Green member or not, it's kind of, but that proximity all of a sudden gives you a different insight into crime, Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do, because it's all about the kids, man.
Yeah.
Like, maybe I don't care if you're 25 and over. Like,
I'm the same. Yeah,
like,
I have.
You're old enough to know what's right or wrong by that.
Yeah.
But when you're a kid, man, and you don't know what's right or wrong.
Yeah, my compassion kind of runs out as you get older.
And so it should, So it should. It's funny because I think I didn't click until, it's funny, this is stupid, but I remember thinking, am I old enough to go to jail? Like, to prison? Like, am I adult now? Like, back in my 20s, like, I could go to prison for something,
Well, I did something that was right on the border there. I was actually one of the first young people to have an FGC. So the FGCs were brand new, family group conference.
So what's that?
So a family group
like
conference
intervention?
So basically a family group conference is for young people under 17. Depending on what the crime, if they do a serious crime, that goes straight to court. But for a lot of times, they'll have an FGC. So what happens is that it'll be run by a social worker, Oranga Tamariki social worker. They'll have the young person, and hopefully they will be able to bring some family with them to kind of support them. You might have a victim, not as much, because victims kind of just, it's a crazy situation to be in. I'll tell you what, though, the FGCs that I've been in when the victim has turned up, it's powerful, man. But I totally understand why a lot of times they don't turn up. And then you have the police, and maybe a support person or something like that. So, and then the police will kind of like talk about the charges, and then kind of like as a group, they'll kind of decide on consequences. But it's not just like, oh yeah, it's fine. Because the cops are like, nah, like, this needs to be real, and so it's kind of like, so part of that is, so they might have that and they still might go to court, or they might have that and that's kind of enough of a, whatever they come up with out of that, which there'll be some things like there might be a thing like, oh, you're interested in boxing, okay, well, we'll take you to West City Boxing, so that'll be that, you have to stick with that, we have to prove that. And there'll also be some restorative stuff where, like, say they stole a car, like, you need to, pay for that people's car, or work it off, or that sort of stuff, or, there might be more serious consequences. It just, it kind of depends on what happens in that group. So when I was a kid, it was kind of like a test, and I was like one of the kids in there. And I think they wanted to like video it or something as well. Like they were gonna like put it on TV or something. My dad was just like, "Fuck off!" I don't want him to be involved in a freaking TV where he's on.
On PlayStation 7 or something. Come on that show. But man, but the victims, that's, you see those powerful. I
when
can
they
imagine.
turn up, it's amazing. Like because it's just that real kind of thing of like, it's all abstract to a kid. Like he goes in and steals a car and I remember there was one where it was a stolen car, and the woman came in, and she sat there, and the kid was kind of like hard and that kind of stuff. And then she just like, they were like, oh, do you want to say anything? And she was just like, oh, so I mean, I'm not going to do it justice, but basically she was like, her mother is dying, and her car was the only way to go see her mum, and her mum is just like, it's the highlight of her day and that day she wasn't able to go see mum, and she said it so beautifully and eloquently. The whole room was in tears, and that kid, you could see for the first time, he was like, I'm an asshole, like I can't believe I did that, like it was just like this realization of like, oh man, and I think a lot of times with consequences, it's not that, it's kind of like you did a thing, you get a consequence, but it doesn't register. It's like, I got caught, I got to do this.
I can see why it's powerful, because they can see the other side firsthand. No?
Yeah. So I remember another one where there was like, it wasn't the young person, it was his dad. His dad was like this real hard guy, gang tats, just like whole thing. And the victim was talking about, so it was an assault, and the victim was just talking about it, and it was the dad that just broke down, and then the kid seeing his dad break down, and they said to the dad like, oh, you okay? And he just said, oh, I'm just so disappointed. And the kid then he broke down. It was it was powerful, man. Yeah.
Are they still doing that?
They still do it, but it's just, like, and I totally understand if you're a victim, like, to go into that environment, it's like, oh, do I really want to do that? Like, and so most people don't.
Unless you're a Karen, I guess.
Yeah.
If you're a Karen, you'll go, definitely.
Probably don't go that way either. You little shit. And then they're like, oh, fuck you. And they don't care.
Like, yeah, man. Yeah, kids are precious, see.
Yeah.
Like, but I can't. See, I still haven't kept up with all the services for the youth these days. There's heaps,
Yeah.
There's
heaps. So there's government agencies, and then there's kind of like not-for-profit, like charities as well. My opinion is charities punch way above their weight. So I've worked for both. I've worked for health organisations, education as kind of like a youth worker, and I've worked for the not-for-profit. Not-for-profit, like they punch way above their weight. They can do incredible things with $1. You know what I mean? Like they'll stretch that dollar to do incredible things. They're genuinely like super passionate. Like I'm doing this. Like it's my mission. You know, it's not a job. Government. You know, there's really good people that work in government, but just because of this laboursome kind of system, lots of compliance, all of that sort of stuff, it just becomes this kind of like, you know, you see amazing people. Like I've seen social workers, and I have to say our social workers out west are actually, man, they're great. Like they really are awesome. But I've seen over 20 years of kind of like good people come into government jobs and just like glass over time. You know, and it's just like you know, it just becomes this kind of thing. So yeah, so they're kind of like two. So there is lots of agencies, but they're kind of like, yeah, they're not all equal.
I've had social workers on here before, and some of the things they say, like one of the big not failures, but things that happen is that at the end of the period of time, like at the end of the programs, there's no follow up.
Yeah.
And that's what's really failing the kids.
Yeah,
I guess
100%. And it's funny because it's actually what we're talking to OT about at the moment with our mentoring service. It's just like this needs to keep going after they've been discharged from your service. Like this, because this thing I'm like I said from the start, like what we do is we take you when you're 9 years old and we'll say goodbye when you're ready. Right. And so we like throughout adolescence, you know what I mean?
And that's the best way, it sounds like.
Oh, 100%. Because it's all about relationship, you know? Like if I'm here to see you for a 5-week program, how much do I want to get to know you if you're just going to be another guy that's gone again, you know? And they've probably already had 30 guys already that have come and gone. So, yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of like, that's like just like a no compromise for me. I'm like, if this is a 5-week program, like I'm out. I don't want to do it. Yeah.
There's that, and there's also the idea of if there's enough activities for the youth, like it'll get them off the streets. Is that a thing? Like if there's enough free activities?
No, I mean I think if you almost kind of like have to look at like, so I think there's like you know, you kind of like you've got your high achieving young people, you've got like a lot of people call them like the overlooked majority of just kids. They're not like high achievers, but they're not really getting into trouble either. And then you've kind of got like a bunch of kids that are kind of like surface getting into trouble. You know, they've joined a youth gang, but actually mum does love me, you know, and kind of, you know.
Oh, those kids actually have a choice?
Yeah.
Actually choose.
Yeah. It's kind of like a bunch of those kids. And some of them might do some quite serious things, but, you know, they're kind of like, and then there's like kids that are just like, you know, like absolutely heartbreaking stories that you wouldn't even believe. And I think for those young people, that's not always going to, like you can't just fill up their time and they're going to be fine because they're just not going to engage. Yeah. Like that, like my biggest thing, to be really honest, I was like, if I was the Prime Minister or whatever, I'd be like start at birth, like the earlier intervention, the better.
Oh yeah.
Like I've got like one of my youth workers she goes around to a house, gets the kids up, finds their uniforms, gets them ready, and gets them to school. Like I'm like, that's
simple thing like that.
Yeah, it's like it's a super practical thing, but it's not being done. So he's gonna and don't get me wrong, like that family is going through a lot. So there's no judgment on that family because if I was that family, I'd be the same. Like I'd be the same. I'd just be like, my hand, I'd give up. I can't, you know. But yeah, it's just like that. The earlier, the better, you know. Like because it's about breaking cycles, you know. So the earlier you can do that, the better.
It's people in your field, like with social workers and that, especially with social workers for the youth, and they've got a really good insight what's going on, you know. And I feel like it's not being, these stories aren't coming up more, you know.
Yeah.
Whatever you hear on the radio or TV, it's not these stories.
Yeah.
You know what's happening in the field. What's
it's true.
Deep,
yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
The trauma and everyone knows what trauma means, but doesn't know exactly what it is. You know.
Yeah.
I read this book by Alan Duff, My Conversation with New Zealand.
Yeah.
Have you read it?
I haven't read it, but and
Man, he paints a picture, man.
Yeah.
He's got chapters on social welfare. He's got chapters on parenting. But man, it is crazy, some of the stuff.
Yeah.
And you know, when you're talking about the stories of the kids and their trauma.
Yeah.
Like I'm remembering this book, his words. He talks about a girl that's just been sexually abused and has a baby when she's 15.
Yeah.
And she's part of the cycle.
Yeah.
You know, she has a boyfriend that plays PlayStation, and her boyfriend's like same age as her.
Yeah.
You know, sort of thing. And
Yeah.
parents are always drunk, never there. And,
Yeah.
you know, he paints this picture, and it's like she's getting sexually abused by her uncles and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably you know, when people when I was reading it, I was thinking people read this and say, "Oh, bullshit." Nah, it's not.
Right. Yeah.
There's probably worse than that.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
Here's Alan Duff talking about something that's bad.
Yeah.
I mean, really bad.
Yeah.
But then, there's even worse than that.
Oh, I could tell you stories worse than that.
Yeah. See, but see, these are the stories that probably don't get out more, because when I think about people that live in St. Heliers and, you know, that complain all the time and stuff like that, because, man, that it's normal for them. It's normal for a lot of people. You know, when you just said, like, oh, she goes and picks up the kid, takes them to school. I'm like, yeah, so that's normal. No.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not normal.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And
It's stuff we take for granted. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can't fathom that.
Yeah.
And if I can't fathom that,
Yeah.
then how can
Yeah.
a majority of New Zealand can they
that's
fathom
right.
that? Because they don't. It's not like they don't care. They just don't know.
Well, that's the thing, and I think we all do that. Like, we all just live from our own experience, right? So, you know, like, I think if you kind of grew up in a family where you were loved, and then you kind of get to a point, and then you know, you get a job or whatever, and then you see someone that doesn't do that, you can only look at it through your own lens.
Yeah.
And your lens is, well, I got a job. Well, what do you do? It's just a choice. Like, I just made a choice to get a job. No. There was a whole bunch of things that happened in your life that allowed you to make that choice to get a job. Like, and to me, that's not even it's weird that we're still arguing about that, because I'm like, I just don't understand how we're still arguing about it. Like it's just, like, it's so provable. You know what I mean? Like, if it was all just personal choice, there would be no groupings. You know what I mean? Like, there would, it was kind of like, it would just be random. Because if it's just choice, it would be like, like rich people would be, you know, doing ram raids as well.
Yeah.
Because it's personal choice, isn't it? So you'd have some St. Heliers kids doing ram raids. You'd have, you know, some in Takapuna and maybe a couple in Ranui. But it's not the case. It's you know, it's because we see them. You know, we get those kids. They don't. It's the same kids. You know, it's the same demographic. It's the same, and but that's not to cast judgment on that demographic. It's saying something's happening to that demographic that's pushing them down and keeping them down, you know. And so it's a weird argument, because I'm just like, I'm like, how are we arguing that it's just personal choice? And I know a bunch of homeless people over the years, because just being in Henderson every day, and I've never had a conversation with a homeless person where I'm not like jaw dropped by their story. You know what I mean? Like, I remember there was one guy that was just like, no, I had a good life. Mum and dad loved me, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, oh man, this is messing with everything. Because I'm like, he had a good life, but now he's making these choices. He's on substances. And I was just like, oh man, how do I reconcile that? I knew him for 3 years before he told me, like, really not, we were talking about something, and nonchalantly he was like, yeah, well, you know, we're talking about suicide or something. And he was like, yeah, like my older brother killed himself in front of me. Like, he's like, he just walked in just as he was like starting to hang. And so he was a kid trying to pick his and so his older brother was like going through all of that. So as a child, he was like doing all that. But if you'd met this guy, like it took 3 years, and it wasn't like it took 3 years to go. He just didn't really, and it was almost like so out of his mind, or that he'd maybe pushed it down or something like that, that it just wasn't part of his story, because he told me a story and that didn't come up. It just came up almost by accident. And then I was like, oh, well, I don't know what it's like to live through that, but I love my older brother, and I imagine if I was a little kid and that had happened to me, I'm not sure I'd be who I am today, you know. So I can say, like, I've never met a homeless person that is kind of like, I just choose to, you know, just live this life. This is, you know, so I don't know, I don't get it.
Yeah, that argument of there's a choice.
And look, I believe in choice. There's choices all the time, but our choices aren't equal. Like, not every choice is equal, you know? Like, I was raised in violence, so for a big part of my life, to not be violent was such a hard choice to make. And I've got healing in my life, and, you know, it's taken years, like, to come to a place where I'm like, to not be violent, you know? And I have friends who wouldn't be violent even if they were pushed to the brink. You know what I mean? So I have a choice not to be violent, and they have a choice not to be violent. Now, is that choice the same? No. Now, we both need to make that choice because we want to be good members of society, but those choices aren't equal. For me not to be violent has taken a long time and a long process, and kind of some rewiring and some relearning, you know. For them, it's kind of like, it's a choice, but not really, because it's not really in them even, you know. They never really saw violence, or, you know what I mean? So it's not like I'm like, there's no choice, it's all just preordained, but I'm just like, there is choice, but let's have that compassionate lens around choice, you know? Yeah.
It's very interesting, because you're talking about, you know, holding back violence when the sport of boxing is a violent sport.
It's funny that,
but
yeah,
it is funny, but I think it's everything but the violence that's good for people.
I don't see violence in boxing at all. It's weird. Like,
yeah, but it's everything but the violence that's really good for people, or for anyone. That's
even
there's a lot of positives to it. Even though you're beating the shit out of your opponent.
Even the violence, like even the aggression, and because it's there's something in some people, I think, that are gonna take risks. Like, I just, you know what I mean? Like, I think some guys in particular, but I think girls as well, but guys in particular, like, we're just wired such a way that we're gonna take risks. And this is the thing, is like, trying to explain boxing to some people, it's just, what are you doing? Like, you're just teaching these little gangsters how to be better fighters on the street. Like, there's just this real...
Yeah, what's your argument against that? Because I'm sure people can say that, eh?
Oh, people do say it. Yeah, they do. Until, again, it's proximity, you know? Like, it's easier to say as you're driving past. It's a lot harder to say when you come in and see someone whose life has turned around because of boxing. It's harder to kind of have that argument.
It's a hard sale, eh? It's a hard...
Yeah.
What would your pitch be to someone like that? You know?
That's a good question.
Like, yeah, I think it's everything but the violence.
So,
you know?
so my argument with that is that I believe that violence comes from insecurity. So, like, violence that you see on the street, it comes from fear and insecurity. Even people that are very good at violence, it still comes from a fear and an insecurity. There'll be an environment, and you see them almost start to kind of peacock, because maybe they were raised in violence, and so they're in that fight flight kind of thing of like, and so their way to protect themselves is to kind of alpha male up and you know, and kind of, and be violent as almost like this. And it almost doesn't make sense, because if you want to stay away from violence, actually it's probably not the best thing to do, but it is almost, but that's human beings. We do lots of weird things like that. And so I believe all that kind of violence comes from kind of fear and insecurity. So what boxing does is actually gives you a sense of self. It gives you a sense of control. It gives you a sense of confidence and self-respect. And the more of that you get, the less kind of fear and insecurity you get. So you look at guys like I look at, and I've been lucky enough to know, some of the best fighters in New Zealand, and they are just not violent people because they just don't care. Like they'll be in a room and some guy will be popping off, and they're just like, because there's just like a quiet kind of confidence of like, yeah, I can deal with the situation if I have to. I'd rather not, It's and I think boxing kind of does that, and I've seen that in young people where they come in and they're kind of like like that kind of thing, but it's almost just like I'm trying, like I'll look through that behavior again, and I see I'm scared. I'm trying to kind of like protect myself here, and that's why I'm acting this way. And they don't see that. I mean, I've had conversations with young people. They're like, nah, I'm like, no, yeah, cool, that's yeah. But yeah, I think that's probably my best argument to try and explain it. But it is a weird thing. Like I'm teaching people to punch each other in the face, and they become less violent. It works. I don't know.
I just think it's just the sport itself and what you have to do to play it. Like it takes a lot out of an individual.
Yeah.
Like you talked before about ups and downs, and Isaac talked about when he was on about the same thing. That it's the high when you win, and it's the lowest of the lows when you lose. And there's two extremes that you don't face in normal life sometimes. And boxing can give that to you. Yeah. And that's where the resilience comes from. Yeah. Because that's the most extreme two ways of the two sides of the spectrum you ever face in your whole life, maybe. So true. And I think that if that take like as you were saying that, I was thinking like, and I don't mean any disrespect to people, but it's almost like the worst result of boxing is like those that kind of come in and do like 3 corporate bouts. Because they almost get like this false sense of like, oh yeah, like I'm a boxer now. I've done like 3 corporate bouts, and they're just like the man now, and they're just like, oh, that's the worst result. Like stick with it and do like 4 more years of this, and then it'll, But then again, just on the boxing level, like you're in the ring by yourself. Yeah. There's another guy, obviously. You're going to punch him in the face. He's going to punch you in the face. You're going to expect it. Yeah. That's some of the hardest things that play in your mind. Yeah.
And it's not even the physical stuff. It's especially as guys, like, it's amazing how much of an ego males have. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. Like, it's probably evolutionary. Like, I don't know, it makes sense. But it is, like sometimes I'll be in a room, and I'll be like, it's weird because probably 80% of the guys in this room all think that they could beat every other guy up in this room. But it's true, eh? It's a weird kind of thing.
It's competitive.
There's almost like no reality to our ego. Like it's like we just kind of have this ego. Yeah. But it's almost like being in the ring, all of a sudden you're met with a reality.
Right, yeah.
Even if you win, it's still kind of like this reality of like, oh, I don't know.
But if you think about it, like 3 rounds, right? What is it, 2 minutes round?
Depends on your age. Yeah, so 1:30 for cadets, 2 minutes for junior and novice youth, and then 3 minutes for youth and elite.
So let's take 3 rounds, 3 minutes each. That's short time. That's 9 minutes, right? That's within 10 minutes. You've gone from like up here to down here. And when you describe that teaching and training with your fighter when he's getting wasted, that's all in the span of under 10 minutes. That's a short time period. And people learn lessons for years. But you're learning a lesson in under 10 minutes.
It's amazing.
Really. And crash course, and you're coming out of it like you may as well have like climbed Mount Everest, know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's like, because I don't know the feeling, I haven't done it, but I can just imagine. And from talking to people, and from watching films and listening to interviews of fighters, what they're talking about. I can just imagine.
It is a hell of an experience.
And I'm teaching shit. I'm not gonna do it. But.
And I think we all, like, I still remember my first bout, like it's just that kind of, it's just such an experience that first time, and everything's just a blur, like it's funny now when I'm like you know, when I have a first time, or even like first half a dozen times, like first time fighters, I know what I'm saying in the corner, and I reduce it. Like I'll say maybe one, maybe two things to my boxer in between rounds. I know that if they're novice, they are not listening. It's just blah, 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 and they just,
I always wondered that.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
I always wondered that.
You know, like I might say, you know, you're headhunting, mate. Go to the body. You know, like there's shots open in the body. Yeah, headhunting. It's just the adrenaline is crazy. Like that first,
Because you know when I watch fights on TV, like professional fights,
Yeah.
and that happens,
Yeah.
I'm always wondering if he gets it because he goes back in
well,
the ring.
I would hope by then you would. You know, like it's definitely like it's funny. Like you know, my son and I have a really good relationship when it comes to the ring. Like it's an actual conversation. You know, so now, like he's had 20, 25 or so bouts or so. So you know, like he'll come down and sit down. You know, we'll just have this discussion. You know, it's kind of like, oh, how do you feel like that went? And he was like, yeah, it's kind of like, you know, I think probably I didn't cut the ring off enough. Like he is, you know, I'm kind of just, you know, I'm like, yeah, it's good. I think, you know, so it definitely like, it does come down over time, but you've just kind of got to get through that, through those first few, And even like technique, like you go, we just drill technique and then they get in there and it's just, you know. Yeah.
I see that in basketball too.
Yeah.
When you train all the plays and then when it comes to the game, no one does it. Hey, no one does it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like the difference between amateur and professional.
Yeah.
Like when you're professional, you do it. This is natural.
Well, if you've got, well, not always. Like there's you could technically you could have a couple of corporate belts and then go professional, but generally, like if you've kind of gone through amateurs, you've had a bunch of belts and you've learnt some really good. That's why I love amateurs. It's not just kind of like 12-week program, get in and just try and punch each other. There is this kind of real, with every coach I've met in amateur boxing, there's this kind of real desire to teach the sweet science and, you know, like go kind of like through that process. Not knocking gyms that don't do that. I think it's great. Like I think any boxing gym is flipping awesome. But yeah, I have seen like in amateur boxing, there's this kind of real, and I think, you know, kind of there's also, you know, the kind of the Olympics at the top of the mountain, you know, and I think that's great for amateur boxing is they've kind of got the summit that they're getting to, so that kind of propels that, you know, wanting to be greater, wanting to be better, and that sort of stuff. Yeah.
You know the Mount Eden boxing, Mount Eden they do the shows, the boxing on Friday nights.
ABA, the Auckland Boxing.
ABA. So your gym goes there.
So
every
ABA is two things. So Auckland Boxing Association is kind of like a venue, and so lots of boxing promoters will, you know, hire the venue to run their boxing events there. So it's a venue. So that's, so you don't know, I don't know what you might get there. But then there is amateur boxing tournaments under Auckland Boxing Association as a professional body that Auckland Boxing Association put on, and they're quite different events. You know, like an amateur boxing event, you know, there's not ring girls or anything like that. It's just kind of like, next up, it's a bit more, you know, it's just the focus. It's not like an event so much as just, you know, boxing. And we do both. Like, you know,
how often do they?
Roughly about once a month.
Okay.
And then you're leading up into kind of like nationals and hopefully, you know, so Auckland will be looking in those tournaments for people to represent Auckland at nationals. So you're trying to kind of prove yourself in those. So those are the month nationals and Golden Gloves. And that sort of stuff, so, and regional championships and stuff. So you kind of like often will be working up to something, you know, and then kind of have a little bit of a dip and then work up to the next thing rather than just trying to be up here the whole year.
And then it's the Olympic team or Commonwealth team?
Yep. So then, well, there's kind of like New Zealand representatives at all levels. So even young people, like there's you know, the world youth and like a bunch. So you can, if you do well in those tournaments, and you can be selected by Boxing New Zealand to kind of represent New Zealand at different things, or maybe a group of Australians will come over, and so New Zealand will team will kind of like box them. Different things like that. So there's those, and then there's kind of like the big events, which we love to be involved in those as well. It's really great for the kids to kind of like, like our kids have loved being, Peach Boxing and others, Pacific Boxing is I just saw an email there putting on a show soon. We're trying to get kids on that because it's cool to kind of be an amateur and then stick around and watch, like the pros do it, it's kind of like, it's pretty exciting for the kids, and it's just a cool environment, those bigger shows that they put on. Yeah, it's just like, a bit more lights and, tables and stuff like that. Because and some of them, we've been to some shows where like they put out like the whole kind of walk-in thing and stuff like that. So the kids are like, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's the biggest.
yeah. Box office they do when they run a show. It's often really, the kids love it, because it's like this, red carpet and
play your song.
Yeah. What song are you gonna walk out to? Yeah.
So when's the next event for you guys?
So I've got a young guy, Hala, who's fighting on undercard of Peach. So Peach have got the Lethal Ladies come out 23rd February.
Oh, so they do shows. They do events.
Yeah. So that's gonna be a really cool show. So yeah, man.
Is that the goal for you guys too? To do events? Would that be a thing you guys would want to do?
No, I'm not.
Is that a whole new ball game? Is it?
Yeah, I think I'd do a bad job at it, to be honest. I was just, I enjoy other people running events, and we just get our boxes on. Yeah. I've got a young guy, Hala, that's going to be there, so we're going to enjoy that show. And then the first amateur boxing tournament, ABA one, is the 2nd or 3rd of March, whatever the Saturday is. 2nd of March, I think. Yeah. So we've nominated a bunch of guys and girls for that.
Oh, that's the first week of NRL season.
Yes. Yeah.
In Las Vegas.
Yeah, crazy, eh?
Las Vegas game.
Where did they go last year? It's like a thing now, eh? Like that.
I don't think they went anywhere last year.
Oh, wasn't it?
No, I know they have the championship, the inter-league champion, like the champion of England versus champion of Australia.
Oh, is that what that was? Oh, yeah, right.
And Penrith lost.
Right.
Did you watch Super Bowl on Monday?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Who are you going for?
I'm not really, like, I'm a Packers fan. So, I wasn't really, I was just enjoying the game. Yeah. I actually felt like the bulk of the game, the 49ers deserved to win. Like, they were playing well.
Yeah. They were playing well. But they were playing against the championship team, and you can't let them hang around there.
Yeah, that's right.
They should have. They had a chance to put points on them.
Yeah,
but they didn't.
I think that was probably the big thing is Kansas City just made the best of opportunities rather than just that consistent good.
Yeah.
They just had really great plays when they had to have great plays. Yeah. It's quite like I lived the first few years of my life in Canada, so those sports I still follow. Like ice hockey and baseball.
Who's your team in ice hockey?
Oh, it's all Toronto because that's right. My brother lives there now. My mum lives there and family and stuff. So my nephew actually got to meet the Toronto Raptors. So they got. I
saw your post on.
Yeah, man. So that was cool. Yeah, it was awesome seeing. And because one of my Edmund, my nephew Edmund, is doing broadcasting at uni.
Oh yeah.
So you got to actually hang out with the commentators at the Toronto game. It was cool. Yeah.
I haven't been to Toronto, but I've seen them on. I've seen Toronto food, the food over there on. I think it was Anthony Bourdain's show.
Oh yeah, what food did he?
Man, he went to all these different places because you know how that guy goes to fancy places, then he goes to behind the back of the street.
I was gonna say, like, I don't know about the fancy places, but man, like the Caribbean food there, the West Indian food.
Yeah.
Oh come on.
Yeah.
There's nothing better in the world, man.
It's a shame he passed away because he was a good.
Did he?
He had good. Yeah, he committed suicide.
Oh flip!
Yeah.
I didn't.
Maybe 3 years ago, 4 years ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I think his wife cheated on him or something.
Oh man.
But his food show, like he went to Toronto, but his food shows are good because he goes to different levels of restaurants.
That's good.
He goes to the street ones,
and
then the middle ones, and then the high ones.
Yeah.
So to get a good feel of the range.
That's awesome.
But he likes everything. You know?
Yeah.
So I was watching the Toronto episode and went to all these food places.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it was that kind of food.
Yeah.
The Caribbean kind of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the best. Yeah.
When was the last time you were there?
Just before COVID.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know, 19, 20, something like that, I think.
Did you go to any games? Or?
I went to a baseball game. Went to the Blue Jays game. Yeah. I don't like winters. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go over in the summer. Yeah,
I never wanted to go somewhere where it's cold because then you got to take heaps of jackets in your luggage.
Yeah.
I want to go somewhere where you can take shorts, t-shirt. That's it.
I'm not made for those winters, man. Especially those Canadian winters. Yeah.
Matthew, brother, man, it's been awesome, mate.
Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah,
thanks for coming back on.
I actually just totally forgot I was like on the podcast was saying chats with a mate. I'm like now thinking back to like, shit, what did I say? I say anything that's going to get me in trouble? You disarmed me, bro.
Oh, you know my secret. You know my secret. That's you just gave everyone listening a warning when they come on. Yeah. It's funny because I've had people say that.
Yeah.
Like afterwards. Yeah. Man, did I say anything? Because man, you just made me feel real comfortable. Man, just talking. Yeah. So nah, man, this podcast is about chatting, man. Like, that's great. There's no rules. No, you can say whatever you want. Awesome. Just having a chat. But Matt, man, you're doing good, man. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you, man. Doing good with your gym, and man, it's cool to listen to your story about, you know, how you interact with the kids and what the sport of boxing, because that's deep, man. Sport of boxing is deep. Yeah. And you know, I'm not that much of a boxing fan as in like in terms of like watching it hard out and knowing all the fighters around the world, but I just love the psychology of it. Yeah. And what the good it can do to people. Yeah. Because I've seen live boxing matches. Yeah. And my thinking is like, and because I went to that charity one where the I think it's not Fight for Life. It's people that haven't boxed in their whole lives. Oh yeah. I think Mike King. Oh yeah. Does it too. They're like fundraising for suicide, I think. Yeah. Do you remember the name? Yeah. That was a Fight for Life one. That was It's a corporate one. It was at IT Headers. Oh, okay. IT Headers. Maybe, I don't know. So they get all these people that work in offices. Yeah, I know that. Yeah, to come fight. Yeah. And it's their first time. Yeah. So I went to that, and man, because a friend of mine was in it, and I just give it up to these guys going in the ring. Yeah. I'm just thinking how they've got the balls to do it. Like, you know, it's like something tough, so it's tough, man. Yeah. Like something so tough, and they're doing it. Yeah. And I was fascinated by it. Yeah. You know, I definitely, you know, like, and I think every coach would say this. I think if you've gotten in the ring, you've won. You know, like there's no the whole winning losing thing, man. Like honestly, it's just such a test to, you know, it's just to me if you've got in there, it's epic, man. Like what an experience, you know. It's like, it's just a great experience. Sweet brother, awesome. Good luck for those fights coming up. Yeah, thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Cheers. Thanks, Cheers.